Another minute? Okay, yalla. Okay. Okay. Lisa, אדוני. כבוד.
In today's Pirkei it starts by Sodom Mamaris Nivaylam, that the Eibush created the world with 10 Mamaris, and the Mishnah asked the question, that why does it say that the Eibush created the world with 10? The Eibush could have done it with 1. But the Eibush could have created with 1. So the Mishnah answers, you know why the Eibush created it with 10? Because he should give schar to the tzaddikim that do Torah mitzvahs. So he created with 10 in order they should be able to have more schar, more reward. That's why the Eibush created with 10. That's what the Mishnah says. So the Rebbe asked the question on the Mishnah. He says the Mishnah is not understood. Why is the Mishnah not understood? If the Eibush could have done it with 1, so even though he does it with 10, but the 10 is not needed. The Eibush could do it with 1, that's it. This that he did it with 10, he did it with 10, it was, why not? It was for no really, so how could the tzaddikim ask for more schar since it was created at 10? The Eibush could have done it with 1, and since he could have done it with 1, so the tzaddikim can ask for more schar than 1, because the Eibush had the capability to do it only with 1. So the Rebbe said that this is telling us that really the Eibush did it with both. He created the world with 2 things, with 1 maimer and 10 mamaris. What does it mean? So the Rebbe said that the world, anything in this world, water, fire, trees, whatever you can think of the world, have one point that they're all equal in. That they were created from nothing to something. That's one point that everything is equal. So now, mitzad this point that everything is equal, so there's no difference between anything. So there the Eibush was Maimeh Echad. Over there it was only 1. Because what's the whole idea? To create from nothing to something. That's the whole idea. So 1 is enough. In other words, to make from ayin l'yesh, from nothing to something, you don't need 10 mamas. One thing, because that's the only point, to create from the idea of being, and it wasn't here. So now that it's being, that's enough with 1 maimer. Then there is that the world has different things. You have a tree, you have fire, you have water. That's already the design, like the shape of everything. That was with Asar Mamaris. That was with the 10 Mamaris that says in Bereshis. Why 10? Because in the 10 Mamaris it says that over there you have everything on this world counts in the 10 Mamaris. Just what? You have to change around the words. Like it says in Tanya, in Shayicha V'Munah, that there's a certain amount of words in the Asar Mamaris. Those words you could change one with another. In other words, take one letter from this word, another letter, and put them all together, and everything in this world counts in the time Amaris. So that means the Mishnah is both things are true in the Mishnah. Maimeh Echad was for making from nothing to something. The 10 Mamaris, that's already the designing and making everything to be how it is. This is a tree and this is a... So the Rebbe said the same thing by a person. A person has these 2 things in him. A person has the Maimer Echad, and he has the Asar Mamaris. What does it mean? When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you say is Moida Ani Lefanecha Melachai V'Kayim. So what's the first thing you say? That you're thanking the Eibush that you woke up in the morning, and like you're giving yourself over to the Eibush. You woke me up. I'm doing whatever you want. You woke me up. So that's Maimer Echad. That's one point that. You don't even know what you're going to do during the day. You don't know what's going to happen during the day. But the first thing in the morning, you wake up and you say, thank God I'm up and I'll do what you want. That's the Maimer Echad. You're not even going into details. You're not going into pratim. Then there's the brachas that you say. The brachas that you say in the morning, means that the Eibusher gives us knowledge to the difference between day and night. So that's already the details. That's like the Asara Mamaris. So in a person you have these two things. The Rebbe just said, like a derech agav, he said that normally a person, when he says brachas, he says it very fast. Why does it say it very fast? Because since he woke up, he went to sleep or whatever, but he got up and he has to say Krishma before the Zman Krishma. So he has to rush up the brachas as soon as possible, and especially by Chassidim, you don't daven in before, because you have to gather your Esther Keichas Nefesh. Because by us, davening doesn't only mean davening with a meaning, it means getting your 10 Keichas together that's in you and davening. So in order to do that takes time, so therefore we daven later. So we have to say Krishma before, so usually you say brachas, you rattle off the whole brachas fast. So the Rebbe says, but no. You're not supposed to do that, because the whole idea of brachas is the Asara Mamaris. It's already dividing, taking every single detail step by step. All the brachas till the end of the brachas, the Salmatari Keneged Kolam. That's already dividing every bracha in detail. So you have to take that slowly. It's not like Moedani that it's one general point. You have to do it in every detail separately. The Rebbe said these two things we see in this week's parsha, the names. The name of a thing shows on the whole thing. Like the Mezritcher Maggid says, that the name of the thing, that gives the life and the whole chayes to the thing. What do we see in the parsha? We see this week's parsha, Behar-Bechukosai. Those two is the same exact thing as Maimeh Echad and Asarim Amaris. What do we see Behar? The world is divided in four. Daimim, Tzemeach, Chai, Medaber. Daimim is like earth, Tzemeach, trees, and Chai is animals, and Medaber is a person. So it says that in every one of these four, there is all four. I'll give you an example. In the earth is Daimim. Earth has no life to it. But it has in it also the idea of Tzemeach, growing. Where do you see earth grow? Earth doesn't grow. But it's the idea of growing by earth. Why? Because the earth has three ways how earth is. There's a valley, then there's flat, and then there's a mountain. So the idea of a mountain means that how the earth grows. In other words, it's not growing, but the idea of growing in the earth. So Behar means a mountain. Behar means the idea of growing. You're a big mountain. You're growing, you're constantly growing. That's Behar. Then you take the word Bechukosai. Bechukosai is just the opposite of the word Behar. What's Bechukosai? It says Bechukosai means Chakika, engrave. Now when you engrave, like by the Luchas, it says that by the Luchas, the words were engraved in the stone. Now when you engrave something in a stone, it becomes its permanent thing, and this is how it stays. The whole word becomes part of the stone. He can't move. This is it. This is how he's going to stay. Bechuka. This is it. He's engraved in the stone. He can't move. He's a permanent thing. So Bechukosai is the idea of permanent. You're steady. And Behar means the idea of growing. But this year we connect them both together. Because this year we read Parshas Behar and Bechukosai together. The Rebbe says, some people think that when we read two Parshas together, so it's like we're losing from both. Like this, if you read every single Parsha separately in a separate week, so you have every Parsha like a separate thing. But when you read it together, we lose. We're losing a little from this Parsha, a little from that. The Rebbe says just the opposite. When you have both Parshas together, so then you have even a greater thing that you can connect the two opposites together. Behar and Bechukosai connect together. How could you connect it together? Because you have a point which is higher than Behar, and higher than Bechukosai, and therefore it could connect together. So this is what the Rebbe said, that the same thing by every Yid. He has to know that he has two things. He has the Maimeh Echad. He has a general idea that everything he does is for the Eibishter. That's my me'echad. Everything I do, whatever it is, for the Eibishter. Then he has the specific things that he does. He eats, he sleeps, he learns, whatever he does. Every single thing you do, you have to do it with your fullest mind, and try to do everything to the full extent. So that's the Asara Mars, that's like the details, you're doing it. But everything in the detail has to have in it the point, the Maimah Echad, which means that I'm doing it all for the Eibush. In other words, all the details I do, and I'm really into every single thing I do, I have to connect with the one point, which is I'm doing it all for the Eibush. And this is what the Rebbe said you see by Matan Torah. The exact same thing. If you notice, by Matan Torah, there was 49 days that he didn't count at Tzira. Then came the 50th day, which is the Yontif Shabbos. And then the Eibush gave the Torah. So it says that the 49 days is that you took every single day. There's 49, the Sfiris, the 7 Sfiris, how 7 times 7 is 49. You take every single detail and you work on it every single day. And that's the idea of Pratim, the details, the Asara Ma'amaras. You work and you work for 49 days. Then you reach a certain point which is called Chamishim, the 50th day. What's the 50th day? The 50th day is something which is higher. I can get there. I could only count 49, 7 times 7. The 50th day is like something which I get like a credit for doing all the work I did in the 49 days. So you have the 50th day and you have the 49 days. Then you have the Torah which Eibush gave us, which connects the 50th day and the 49th day together. It's the same exact thing. You have a point which connects the point and all the details that makes it one. The same thing they ever said in Parshas Bamidbar. As everyone knows, we read Parshas Bamidbar before Shabbos. Really, we're supposed to read Parshas Bechukosai right before Shabbos. But in order to differentiate from Bechukosai and Matan Torah, because Bechukosai speaks about things which is just the opposite of bracha. So what do we read in between Bechukosai and Shavuos? Bamidbar. In Bamidbar you have the same exact thing. The word Bamidbar means two things, and then you have a point which connects both together. What's Bamidbar? It says in Chassidus, Bamidbar means medaber, speak. Now there's two ways a person could speak. One way is you could speak that you don't speak, the Eibush speaks through you. Where is that? Where do you see such a thing? Every day in Shemoneh Esrei, no matter what Shemoneh Esrei it is, it could be Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av, every Shemoneh Esrei you start with a few words before. Hashem, Sefosai Tiftach, Ufi Yagatul Secha. The Eibush should open my mouth, and my mouth should say His praise. In other words, it's the Eibush opening my mouth, and He's making me say the words. So it's how the Eibush speaks through me. So that's one idea of Medaber. Not that I speak, the Eibush speaks through me. Then there's another thing in Medaber, that I'm the one that's speaking, and through me speaking, I make the Eibush speak. Where's that? It says that Kol HaKeireh Leimid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yeshiv V'Keireh Kenegdeh. If you learn Torah, the Eibush sits and repeats every word you say. So it means not that the Eibush is making you say, you're making the Eibush say. So you have two opposite things. The first translation of the word Medaber means the Eibush makes you say. The second is that you're making the Eibush say. And since it's one word, that means you have both together. That means there's a point that you can connect. The Eibush gives you the koyach, because he gives you a special koyach from Atzmos and the Eibush himself, which you connect both together. You can have the Eibush and you both together, and it becomes one point. The same thing that ever said by a person. A person has his blood circulates his whole body. Now when his blood circulates his whole body, so it gives a little blood to the heart, a little blood to the head, a little blood to the... Every part gets its chayas, its life. Then that's the idea of dividing, giving every single detail what it needs. That's the idea of Asara Ma'amaras, every detail. but it's all one blood. In other words, the same blood that'll be in the heart will be in the head. It's just circulating. So you have both things together. You have two opposite things together. The blood is going in every part of the body, and it's the same blood that's going all around. So how does that happen? Because in a person you have something which is higher than both, which is the Aleph. A person is spelled Adam. Aleph, Daled Mem. Daled Mem is Dam, the blood. Aleph is the letter which is before Daled Mem, which makes that the blood, in other words, that blood has in it the both points, that it gives chayes to every single detail, every single thing in your body, and it's also the same blood that's doing it. How do you have the energy to connect these two things from the Aleph, which goes on the Eibishter, Aleph? Who's the Aleph? The Eibishter. So this is all a preparation for Matan Torah, and the Rebbe said that this also we find in the beginning of Sfira. How did the whole thing of Matan Torah start? What was the whole idea of Sfira? How did it all start? So it says that when the Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim, we started counting the 49 days, and that's how we prepared for Matan Torah. So that means when we started counting, there has to be the same idea as we get to the end. In the beginning of counting, we have the same thing. We have 2 points, and then you have a point which is going to make these 2 points together. What is it? So the Rebbe said, when the Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim, he told Paroi, "B'chatzos halayla, when it gets midnight, I'm going to come and kill out all the B'cherim, all the oldest from every family, and take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim." So now, B'chatzos halayla, B'chatzos means exactly midnight. What does it mean exactly midnight? The night has 2 parts to it. The first part of the night is still connected with the day before, as we see. And the second part of the night is already for the day after that. Now, in order to connect these 2 parts together, you need a point which is higher, which that's Chatzos. Chatzos, exactly midnight. That's a point which is higher than the half before and higher than the half after, and it connects both halves together, and it makes a midnight. That's what happened. The Eibishter revealed himself that he get on Chatzos, and he connected both together. So that's the same thing what comes to Matan Torah. Matan Torah is the same thing. We have the 49 days, the 50th day, and then the Eibishter gives us the Torah to connect them both together. So that means the preparation, how it started this year is also the same thing. The Eibishter came and made the Bachatzes right exactly in the middle of the night, and then you could connect both parts of the night, makes it one. Same thing a year through his Aveda till Matan Torah, which we reach to that. The same thing that Rebbe said, getting back to what we said before, that the reason we read Parshas Bamidbar before Matan Torah is because we don't want to say Chas Shalom, the idea of not bracha. Behar-Bechukosai, everyone knows, speaks about not good things, not things that are connected with a bracha. So we want to make the difference between Behar-Bechukosai and Matan Torah, so we read Parshas Bamidbar. So the Rebbe said that how do you know that, how do you see that the Torah is only connected with bracha? Therefore we make the difference between Behar-Bechukosai. So he says the first letter in the Torah starts with a beis, Bereshis. That tells us that everything in Torah is bracha. Bracha also starts with a beis. Anything in Torah is connected with a blessing. Even a little kid that learns, you teach him the first parsha in Torah, he sees, what's the first letter? He sees a beis. Beis is bracha. Now in a beis, you have the same exact thing, 2 points, and then the point higher that has to connect it. What is it? Everyone knows that the Eibishter created the world 3 sides only. The world has only 3 sides. And there's one side that the Eibishter left open. Why did he leave it open? That a Yid through his Torah and mitzvahs, he closes the fourth side. So that means when the Eibusher created the world, there was three sides to it. And many, many things he created. What does a Yid do? Through his working, he closes the fourth side, so it becomes like a mem, a closed mem. Now, a closed mem means that everything is closed, everything is one point, it's closed. So, the Eibusher created the world with three sides, different things in it, and then us, we make it into one. We close it and make it like a mem closed up. So that's the same thing. You have when the Eibusher created the world, there's many details, three sides to it, and many things in the world. Then you have the Yid that makes the whole thing, and he connects them and makes it one point. How does a Yid have energy to take many things and make it into one thing? That's because you have a koyach from the Eibusher, which is higher than the many and higher than the point, and then you have the energy to connect them both and make it a closed base, and that's the mem stuma. There's a word, normally a mem stuma is by the end of a letter, of a word. Closed mem is by the end of a word, except one place in the Torah that the closed mem is in the middle of a word. Which word is it? Ulamarbe hamisra. That's speaking about Mashiach's times. Over there, the closed mem is in the middle of the word. Why? Because that shows when is Mashiach going to come? When we close the base. In other words, when is Mashiach going to come? When we take the base and we make the fourth side to it, and then we close it, we make it one point, and that's when the Mashiach is going to come. So we see already in Torah, the first letter in Torah has the same idea as Matan Torah, as Sfir Seimer, like we said before in the Pirkei Avos and everything. Then after the letter Beis goes the letter Gimel, and then goes the letter Dalet. What's Gimel and Dalet? So it says in Gemara Shabbos, Daf Kuf Gimel, Daf Kuf Beis, whatever it says over there, that Gimel means Gemoil. I'm giving charity. Dalid goes on Dalim, poor people. And why is the Dalid right after the Gimel? The Gemara explains. And also an interesting thing that the Dalid in the Sefer Torah, the foot of the Dalid is not straight. The foot of the Dalid is slanty towards the Gimel. Because the idea is that the Gimel should give money and things to the dalim, to the poor, and make that the poor should be no more poor, should be gimel dalad. They should both gemoil dalim. That's what the Gemara says. Give to the poor, he should have what he needs, and make him no more dalim. So through that, the Rebbe says, we have the idea of gimel, which is the in of geula. What's the idea of geula? Taking the poorness, in other words, the darkness of the world, and giving it what it needs, and make it no more dalam. It shouldn't be any more the idea of poorness. Then the Rebbe said is the inyan of the Aron in the Beis HaMikdash. It says that in the Aron there were two things in the Aron. There were the luchas, the whole luchas, and then there was the shivi luchas, the broken luchas. The whole luchas was the second one that the Eibusher gave us, and then the shivi luchas was since we did the egel. So Moshe Rabbeinu took the luchas and broke it. Now, what's the difference between the whole luchas and the broken luchas? The whole luchas shows on the avodah of a tzaddik. The idea of a tzaddik. He's whole. What's a tzaddik? A tzaddik, no problems. He doesn't do any avodah. Nothing. He's whole. What's the idea of a Baal Tshuva? The idea of Baal Tshuva is the broken luchas. What do you mean the broken? That Baal Tshuva, it was in a time that he wasn't so in a good way, and he takes and he makes it, he fixes himself. That's the idea of broken luchas. Now normally these two things are two opposite things. A Baal Tshuva is one kind of avodah, and a tzaddik is another kind of avodah. It's two opposite things. But in the Aron, they were both there. You had the shivi luchas there and the whole luchas. Why? Because there's the Eibusher, in other words, there's a point which is higher than a Baal Tshuva and higher than a tzaddik, and therefore it can connect both together. And that's what it says, that when Mashiach will come, the tzaddikim, osva tzaddikai b'tiyufta, the tzaddikim are going to do tshuva. What's the whole mile when Mashiach comes? What's going to happen? The tzaddikim are going to do tshuva. That's the same thing, that when the Mashiach comes, there's going to be such a high revelation from the Eibishter that's higher than tzaddikim and higher than Baal Tshuva, and therefore the tzaddikim could be a Baal Tshuva. They could also be, even though it's two opposite things, but you have a point which connects these two opposite things, and they could become a in of Baal Tshuva. That's going to be where Mashiach comes. Then the Rebbe said, so this is the Hirah for a person. What is he supposed to know? What is he supposed to do? That a person has to know that there's two things. There's the Maimah Echad and there's Asara Amaris. There's the one point that everything you do is for the Eibishter, and then there's, don't forget about the Asara Amaris, that everything is a different way you have to do it. When you eat, you have to do it in one way. When you learn, there's another way. When you work, another way. Everything, you have to do it in a certain form and a different way, how to serve the Eibishter. And you have to connect the Asara Amaris, in other words, the details that you do during the day, connected with the one point in the Kuda Achas, which is higher than everything, which that's the in, that you're doing everything. Even these little details, you're all doing it for the Eibishter. You know, in every detail, and you do the details to the fullest extent, you have to do it just for the Eibishter. And then they ever connected it with the kids. That it says that by Matan Torah, the Eibishter asked for guarantee. Who's going to be the guarantee for the Torah? So they said that the children will be the guarantee. So therefore the Rebbe said, since the children are going to be the guarantee. So every year, Matan Torah, it's not that Matan Torah happened many years ago. Every year the Eibishter gives us the Torah again. So when it comes to give the Torah again, so who's going to be the guarantee? The children. So who has to be by the Aseret HaDibros to hear the Torah? The children. Because if not, how could the Eibishter give us the Torah if he doesn't have a guarantee? So therefore we have to make sure that everyone should bring all the children to shul to hear the Aseret HaDibros, and not only the children that could read or they understand, even the little children, the little kids. And therefore we show the Eibishter these are the guarantees, and these are the ones that are going to keep going, that there should be guaranteed that the Torah should be going. And the Rebbe, in the middle of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe said that Mashiach is already between us. He's here, he's ready, and he's going to go dancing with us to the Geula Amitus Vashlema, which this Geula Amitus Vashlema, the Rebbe said, will be before Rish Chodesh, which Rish Chodesh is Rish Chodesh Sivan on the Tuesday, which by Yom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. On Rish Chodesh Sivan is the day when the Yidden came to the mountain of Sinai, which they got the Torah. And it says that the Yidden were already ready to get the Torah on that day, Rish Chodesh, because when they came to the mountain of Sinai, they were Ki'isha Echad B'Leiv Echad. They were united together, and since they were together, so therefore they were ready to get the Torah. But actually, when the Eibishter gives us the Torah, actually a few days later, on the 6th day of Sivan. But on Rish Chodesh, the Yidden were already ready to get the Torah. That's why it says, by Chodesh HaShlishi Bo Midbar Sinai, they were ready to get the Torah Midbar Sinai. They were ready to get the Midbar Sinai, the Torah. And so Mashiach should come before Rish Chodesh, and before we read Parshas Bamidbar, which Parshas Bamidbar speaks about the counting of all the Yidden, which when is going to be the 10th counting of all the Yidden, when Mashiach comes. Till now it was only 9. The 10th one is going to be when Mashiach comes. So it should be zeicher that before we prepare ourselves for Mincha, before we read the Torah in Mincha, should be zeicher to the Gula Amitus Vashlema B'Korev Mamash. The 10th counting is going to be when Mashiach comes. The Eibishter counted us only 9 times. The 10th time is going to be when Mashiach comes. So since this parasha speaks about counting, Bamidbar, how the Eibishter counted all the Yidden, so we should be zeicher to have the 10th counting before.
Which parasha will supposed to fall on?
Bamidbar.
Nasos, didn't he say Nasos?
Nas, he didn't say Nas, no. But Bamidbar is Erev Shabbos.
Thank you for coming.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You mentioned that on the Rosh Chodesh they were ready, but they didn't get it a couple days later. I missed it. Why? How come they only got it a couple days later?
Didn't explain that, but the episode bring out that it's already the way they even were in Rosh Chodesh, they were already in a situation that they're ready to get it. Then they had different things they had to build in this Behar. They had to go spray blood on the make them Jewish. They had to do it for a few days. But they were uniting. Since they were united together, they were ready for the Irish Chodesh.
That was meaning that they were united.
They were united. That's what it says.
One more suggestion. In the beginning, before, there was a point we were breaking down Hebrew words. When you get them, you should break them down more often. English. Hebrew comprehension is very well.
How was that photo? How's that?
Max, good luck.
Have a few words to say, Jeff?
Doesn't matter, it was going to be off anyways.